The history of humans landing on the moon is a remarkable tale of scientific achievement, technological prowess, political ambition, and human perseverance. Spanning over a decade of intense competition and collaboration during the mid-20th century, the journey to the moon culminated in the historic Apollo 11 mission. This mission saw astronauts Neil Armstrong and Edwin Buzz Aldrin become the first humans to set foot on another celestial body on July 20, 1969. To comprehensively cover this topic, we need to delve into the historical context, the scientific and technological advancements, the space race, the Apollo missions, and the enduring legacy of humanity's lunar exploration. Prelude to the moon landing. The dream of reaching the moon was nurtured by centuries of scientific inquiry and technological progress. Theoretical ideas about space travel emerged in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, fueled by visionaries like Konstantin Tsiolkovsky and Hermann Oberth. The invention of rockets and advancements in physics during the early 20th century laid the groundwork for practical space exploration. The modern space age began with the launch of Sputnik 1 by the Soviet Union on October 4, 1957, marking the first artificial satellite in orbit around the Earth. This event triggered the space race between the United States and the Soviet Union, two superpowers locked in a Cold War rivalry. The successful launch of Sputnik 1 was followed by subsequent Soviet achievements, including the first living being, a dog named Laika, in orbit and the first human, Yuri Gagarin, to orbit the Earth in 1961. The space race intensifies. The Soviet Union's early lead in space achievements galvanized the United States to accelerate its own space program. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy set a bold national goal of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth before the end of the decade, in response to Soviet successes and to bolster American prestige. NASA, the newly formed National Aeronautics and Space Administration, became the focal point of American efforts. Project Mercury, the first human spaceflight program, laid the groundwork by putting astronauts into space in single-man capsules. This was followed by Project Gemini, which aimed to develop the skills and technologies needed for the moon landing, such as spacewalking and orbital rendezvous. The Apollo program. The Apollo program, conceived in 1961, was NASA's answer to Kennedy's challenge. It was a series of missions designed to progressively build towards the ultimate goal of landing humans on the moon. The program was named after Apollo, the Greek god of archery, prophecy, and music, symbolizing light and knowledge. Key Apollo missions. Apollo 1, 1967. Tragically, the first crewed Apollo mission ended in disaster during a pre-launch test. A cabin fire killed all three astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee, prompting NASA to overhaul safety protocols and spacecraft design. Apollo 8, 1968. This mission became the first crewed spacecraft to orbit the moon. Astronauts Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Enders circled the moon 10 times, providing critical data and images of the lunar surface. Apollo 11, 1969. The culmination of years of planning and preparation, Apollo 11 aimed to achieve Kennedy's goal of a lunar landing. The crew consisted of Commander Neil Armstrong, Lunar Module pilot Buzz Aldrin, and Command Module pilot Michael Collins. Apollo 11, the first moon landing. Mission timeline. Launch, July 16, 1969. Apollo 11 lifted off from Kennedy Space Center in Florida atop a Saturn V rocket. Translunar injection. After orbiting the Earth, the spacecraft fired its engines to leave Earth's orbit and head towards the moon. Lunar orbit. Apollo 11 entered lunar orbit on July 19. Michael Collins remained in the command module Columbia while Armstrong and Aldrin transferred to the lunar module Eagle. Descent to the lunar surface. On July 20, Armstrong and Aldrin piloted the lunar module to the surface of the moon while Collins continued orbiting above. The first steps. Neil Armstrong descended the ladder and became the first human to set foot on the lunar surface at 2:56 UTC on July 21, 1969, famously declaring, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Buzz Aldrin followed shortly after. Lunar activities. The astronauts spent about 2.5 hours outside the lunar module, conducting experiments, collecting samples, and deploying scientific instruments. Scientific discoveries. The Apollo missions brought back valuable scientific data and lunar samples that revolutionized our understanding of the Moon's geology, history, and evolution. Analysis of these samples provided insights into the early solar system and the Earth-Moon relationship. The Apollo program spurred technological advancements in fields such as rocketry, materials science, computer technology, and telecommunications. Innovations developed for space exploration found applications in everyday life, from medical devices to satellite communications. Conclusion. The moon landing was a culmination of human ingenuity, determination, and collaboration. It represented a triumph of science and technology, driven by the geopolitical tensions of the Cold War era and the visionary leadership of President Kennedy. The Apollo program not only achieved its primary goal of landing humans on the moon but also left a lasting legacy of innovation and exploration. Looking forward, renewed interest in lunar exploration has emerged in the 21st century, with plans for lunar bases, robotic missions, and crewed missions to return humans to the moon. These endeavors build upon the achievements of Apollo and aim to expand our understanding of the moon while preparing for future missions to Mars and beyond.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe our channel.